Spill the Tea, a podcast by Penang Institute where we get into the minds of individuals who break stereotypes. I'm your host, Bami Ting. Today we're going to talk about the power of comedy and how a stand-up comedian who grew up in Penang has made waves and now has his own show on Netflix, something many of us dream of. Our guest on this episode is my good friend and fellow Penangite, Gajen Nad. Gajen is a stand-up comedian, MC, trainer, motivational speaker, content creator, and now a Netflix star. Gajen, welcome to Spill the Tea.
Thank you so much, Meeting, for having me here at Penang Institute. Really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure to have you here, and congratulations on the release of your 1-hour stand-up comedy special on Netflix.
Thank you so much. It's such a big thing, but yeah, on 1st December 2023.
Yeah, we're all looking forward to it, and I'm super proud as a fellow Penangite. I remember the first time that you and I spoke, we realized that your dad is actually my childhood doctor, Dr. Nadison.
Yeah.
And I saw him a lot when I was a kid because, well, I was a pretty weak kid, I guess. And you very quickly turned this fact into something witty. I can't remember what exactly now, but it was definitely along the lines of me being a weakling, lah, I think. But I also definitely remember your laugh. And you have this full-hearted laugh which resonates in the room. And so whenever you laugh, I can't help but to feel better. But also, one very key thing which stood out to me is that I remember thinking how serious you actually are as a person, despite being a comedian.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that at that point, I think you were just starting out to be a comedian, or even before that, I think.
Yeah.
But is there like an expectation wherever you go that every conversation you carry would always be lighthearted?
To a certain level. So I think most people, they don't expect that. But quite a number of people, they will say that, oh, you're quite serious for a stand-up comedian. Yep. And that's when I say that actually the joke writing process is very serious because most of the time we get our jokes through observation. And when you observe something, you're usually more in a serious mode. So how a joke works is we look at a different angle compared to what the majority do, and that's where the punchline happens. So if you think about all this process, it's quite serious. It's just that when we get up on stage and we deliver, then it's funny. So yes, it does. People do have an expectation on me being funny, but that's when I explain to them that stand-up comedians, there are many styles. The deadpan style, and there's this thing what we call contrastive effect. So sometimes being too loud will devalue the level of laughter, but being just monotonous or just being stale on stage, it's funnier because of the contrastive effect when the punchline appears. So this is a very tough thing to explain to most people because most people think that comedy is loud and you
exactly.
got to be
boisterous and just like really the life of the party.
Yeah, exactly.
Sort of,
but stand-up is a bit more what do you call that? A bit more posh. It's not like a skit where you act it all out. Yeah, you can use physical comedy in stand-up, but it's very heavy on the joke writing and delivery. Yeah.
Okay. And Gajen, I know it's been quite a journey for you. Not many people know that you are actually an engineer.
Yeah.
By training before this. And I mean, it must have been quite a lot of... it must have been quite a journey for you to get to where you are today as a comedian. So let's start from the very beginning.
Yeah.
I know that you were born and raised in Penang.
Yeah.
And you went to free school.
Yeah.
That's where many of our mutual friends are from.
Yeah.
So how did growing up in Penang actually shape you and your career?
Yeah, I think in Penang, now that I've traveled not just Malaysia, but around Malaysia, and you'll find Penangites, outside of Malaysia, who are also doing very well. One thing I noticed about Penangites compared to other states is we are very proud of our schools. And last time...
So true.
Yeah, and our parents really fight for the best school, in whichever angle they look at it. So growing up in Penang was, you always wanted to get into the best schools, and there's a list of the top, best schools. So that's one thing, right? And I feel that Penangites, we are just like 3 or maybe 4 connections away. I don't have the stats for this, but it feels like that. So it's a very small. It's a huge family. You would say so, right? It's a huge family. So growing up in Penang, people tend to know each other, right? As you just grow, people are also very helpful. The only problem is until today, people still ask, "Are you island or mainland?" So I don't know when is that going to end, but that is the only
I don't think it's going to end anytime soon.
Yeah, that's the only segregation that's happening in Penang. Other than that, Penang is really united. And the creative thing, it all started in high school when I was active in Scouts.
Okay.
Yeah, because if you look at our education system, it's very theory heavy, but core curricular activities, they give us a space for freedom, creative thinking.
Sometimes a little bit too much freedom, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's the fun part.
Yeah. Now when I look back, I think I crossed the Scouts activities, across a few lines in terms of health and safety. But even that, the space was there for creative thinking, like doing sketches and all that. In Scouts last time, we used to do sketches, and sketches requires writing. And at that time, I didn't know what punchline is. I didn't know what a twist is. So we'll just write funny stories, and we'll try to make people laugh using comedy sketches during the campfire night. And this was also in Girl Guides. So I guess that's sort of where it indirectly started. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then after free school, I was in KDU Penang for A-levels. And then after that, I moved to Monash, which is in KL. Yeah.
Yep. And you did engineering.
Yep.
And then, but like your very first attempt in stand-up comedy was also during Monash.
Yep,
right?
Correct. Yeah. So I actually entered a talent night competition. Okay. So my friend said, "Hey, since you're quite funny, why not you just go and tell some jokes?" So I just joined, and I did. There was an 8-minute slot, so I did 4 minutes of jokes and 4 minutes of Michael Jackson dance, because that was the same year he passed away. So I thought I wanted to do a tribute, right? 2009. And interestingly, the judges liked it, and then I won second place. And then the following year, Monash kept asking me to, when I say Monash, as in the student bodies, they kept asking me to perform for their event. So I only performed like 1 or 2 events per year. But I didn't really know what I was doing at that time, because I didn't know what a punchline was, and I was just telling funny stories. For some reason, it worked and all that. And then in 2012, someone saw my video on YouTube and said, "Hey, why not you perform in an actual stand-up comedy show in public?" And literally in a place called Publica. Right? Yeah. So I gave it a shot, and it's an open mic show, which literally means it's open to anyone. You just got to register. So I did my 3 minutes there, and it was good. Then they kept inviting me back. They, as in Dr. Jason Leong.
Okay.
Yeah. And then for my third show, that's when I got my first paid gig. And then from there, it just kicked off. Yeah.
And all this was while you were working with Accenture?
No, this one was my final year. The 2009, the talent night, that was my first year of doing engineering.
Okay.
And then when I first started stand-up comedy officially was 2012. That was my final year of engineering. But yeah, 2013 I started working in Accenture as an IT consultant. Yeah.
Okay. So I think the question which begs to be asked is, how did you make the switch?
Yeah. So this was so I have an Excel sheet because I'm a consultant, right? So I have an Excel sheet of all my shows, and then like side income. So initially it was just a hobby, right? And I just saw it as a hobby, and I enjoyed doing it. And then I extrapolated my side income, right? And then I saw, the line will actually intersect with my expenses at one point in time, which means the gradient is higher. Okay, I'm doing some maths thing here. But then I said, that means my growth is there, and it could potentially be a career. So just potentially. So that I bear that in mind. So I just kept on doing it as a side hustle. And then it came to a point where I was a consultant. So that time in Accenture, we had analyst, consultant, manager. So it's a very big jump. Analysts are executive, consultants are assistant manager, then manager. So I was a consultant, and for me to move to a manager, I needed to put in a lot of extra hours to learn SAP, which is a system about like plant maintenance, the oil and gas stuff and all that. And then my comedy career was also hitting a ceiling. And that's when I said, maybe it's time to make the jump. And that's when I did the checklist. My side income was already surpassed my expenses, and then had quite a number of months of savings. Then I got investments and all that. I got credit cards and all that. So I'm saying credit cards for the listeners is because if you be a freelancer, I think it's quite hard to apply for a credit card. So it's better to have them in hand first. So yeah, once I had all the checklists, I said, you know what, why not just take the jump.
the
Yeah.
plunge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And since then, there are a few hiccups here and there, but nothing major.
Okay.
So I guess it's calculated risk. So applying consulting to my life.
No, I
Yeah.
mean that's great. I mean, like risks have to be calculated.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's why I
yeah.
don't really like some of these motivational quotes where they say, "Oh, leave everything behind, take the jump." Then
Cannot
they show
lah,
one
that's crazy
eagle
lah.
flying. Yeah. Then everyone who thinks in a very binary way will think like, I got to do this. And sometimes these stories they do become successful, right? But the thing is, you got to look at the stats and the data
Yes.
sample, right? How many people who leave everything behind and become successful? So sometimes you can take the safer approach while reaching that goal. Yeah, in a longer period of time, but I think you're much mentally healthier. You don't have to
Yes,
be
yeah. I mean,
stressed
the
out.
certainty is there, and like not everything has to be YOLO lah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, we always hear the success stories, but like for every success story, how many failures are there behind that? And which
Exactly.
we don't hear about lah.
Yeah.
On social media at least.
Yeah.
So I know this was all calculated, and you put a lot of thoughts in it. How did your parents react?
So my parents were surprisingly okay. And I
Okay.
think it's because they saw me from the beginning. So it's not that I left my job to start stand-up comedy.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a very big difference, right?
Yeah.
Because you're seeing very little changes from time to time. Like in the corporate world, they'll say this like the agile method, sprint. You take little steps by this, then you see the growth of something. So they know that I've been growing in terms of stand-up comedy career, and they also know that I'm quite financially savvy. Like I keep track of every single expense and all that. So, but they had a couple of questions. Like now you go comedy, you don't have SOXO. I said okay. I said I have never claimed SOXO, but okay. So now you do stand up comedy, you gotta pay for your own, your dental and all that. I said, yeah, I can pay my own dental and all that. So these are all, and I understand, right? Because there's a rift between like the Gen Zs or maybe even millennials for that matter with the boomer parents, right? And you have to understand that all these generations have different risk profile. So sometimes when parents they what do you call that? They tell their children not to do something of their hobby. It's not that they want to demotivate them.
Yeah.
They're just trying to be
They're just
safer.
worried, yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
different risk profiles. So
Yeah.
sometimes there's a lot of hate between both different age groups and all that. I don't think it's that. I think everyone has got good intention. It's just like to safeguard. So my parents were actually okay.
Okay.
They just kept an eye on me from time to time. If everything's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's always great to have supportive parents
Yeah.
who understand. And so speaking about how like our fundamental years as like during our childhood and our teenagehood, and how those years actually shape the way we think about the world and see ourselves.
Yeah.
One of the things that I find myself thinking about is this question of how we look like to the outside world. Like, what does the world think about your identity? Who do they think you are lah, basically?
Yeah.
So I'd love to talk a little bit about how you see your identity now,
Yeah.
and what you see your the future years to be.
Yeah, I think that's a very good question because you'll be surprised a lot of people live their lives without knowing their identity or their purpose. So, yeah, I would say, of course, when I perform overseas, I always have to remind myself that I'm just not a Malaysian, I'm a Malaysian ambassador.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, right, when you travel overseas, they may not remember your name, but they'll definitely remember your nationality.
Right.
So I always tell Malaysians that even not just overseas, when you're here, also be a good Malaysian because there are tourists over here, right? And we are all the marketeers or ambassadors or whatever you want to call, you're the spokesperson. So be a good person. So Malaysian, number one. Number two is also, I say a lot about me being from a mixed parentage of Chinese and Indian.
Yes, exactly.
To promote diversity and inclusion, and to also like indirectly tell to the world that Malaysia is filled with tons of ethnicities.
Yeah.
Like not just 3, actually, it's more than 20.
Yeah.
So as to promote and also to have a representation for mixed kids. Because every time I perform at a comedy shows, I actually get random people from the show come up to me and say, hey, do you know I'm actually a Malay and Thai mix and all that, so I like your jokes and all that. So that's actually the power of comedy, that if you do a joke in a good positive way,
Yeah.
because touching about race is a sensitive thing, but racism is only if you punch down, right? If you punch side, if you punch up, then that's fine. It's more like diversity and inclusion. So I've done many jokes where you get strangers coming up to me and tell me their family heritage, and I'm like, what other scenarios you'll get a stranger sharing their family heritage and they feel really comfortable? So yeah, my identity to the world will be a Malaysian of ethnicity of Chinese and Indian, and to also promote clean comedy, because
Yeah.
clean comedy now is kind of rare. Actually, it's been rare for quite since comedy started. But yeah, that's my style, is to, because I feel there are the two sides of me. One is the professional part. Another one is the very casual. I do swear at times when I'm casual. But yeah, I like to take the clean path because it's the more difficult one.
It's
Yeah,
definitely
to
a
avoid.
bigger challenge, lah.
Yeah, it's
Right,
definitely a
right.
bigger challenge. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're also known to make clean jokes, lah.
Yeah.
Basically, no vulgarity.
Yeah, no sex
no
jokes,
sex
no
jokes,
religious
no
jokes and all,
religion.
yeah.
Yeah. So I think that is something very different
Yeah.
from a lot of other comedy shows,
Yeah.
whereby they seem to punch down a lot
Mm,
on certain topics.
Yeah, yeah.
And like as the saying goes, laughter is the best medicine, right? And whether or not it actually cures physical ailments, comedy shows definitely have the power to bring strangers together
Yeah.
by laughing about the same subjects, and sometimes at the expense of themselves.
Yeah.
And it's amazing the narrative that you just mentioned just now, whereby because you always use your own identity as a mixed child,
Yeah.
and that actually resonates with the audience.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very nice thing to know and to hear. But how important or powerful do you feel comedy is to an audience, and maybe in a larger picture to the world that we live in today?
Yeah, comedy has always been a space of free speech. But we have seen the last few years, if used wrongly, you could get some
Get into
negative,
trouble.
negative outcome. I will just put it in
Yes,
that way. lah,
yeah.
So it would still, I would say it's still a space for free speech, but the word freedom has always had like a gray area. How free is
Yeah.
free?
Exactly.
Like in America, they keep saying freedom and all that, but during the COVID, I remember there are a few people like carrying guns into Starbucks and say, "This is my freedom" and all that. So every word has got a definition to it. So it is still a very powerful space to voice out things. If you look at America now, the style of comedy have changed a lot. Last time, like maybe 10 to 30 years ago, it was all just jokes. Maybe a
Yeah.
few that are political jokes and all that.
Yeah.
Now you got to have a political stand in
Right.
America to say like what's going on, a very hot issue and all that. Now we just tell jokes. Yeah, you can do well, but you won't be as great as you could be.
Okay.
So different countries will have different timelines. As of Malaysia right now, I think we are still in the early phase. So here, we just tell jokes. At times we can touch on topics and all that, as long as you know how to write it in a very smart way. But comedy has always been like a safe space where people can voice out. Because if you think about it, the writer, the director, the performer is all the same person.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the power is all in there, as compared to if you work in a corporate, you got to get lots of approval, and then by the time it reaches you, things get watered down, or certain things that you wanted to do gets cut off and all that. But in comedy, you control your material, you control your workload. So there's a very high level of authenticity.
Yeah.
That's actually one of the main reasons why I like comedy, apart from laughter, is actually the authenticity, the transparency. And to me, a good joke also needs to have a certain level of truth behind it.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
because I've studied a lot of jokes, and jokes that has a certain truth behind it have got stronger memory retention.
Okay.
So yeah, most of the jokes I write, I would say like 98% has a certain truth behind it. So even though certain things are exaggerated, but there's a certain truth behind it, and I can see that it does bring better memory strength, because people will actually quote back some of the jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas I've seen some jokes on stage where I know it didn't happen, I know it's not true, and no one quotes that joke, but they know they enjoyed the show. But when you ask them to think back of the joke, the memory just isn't that strong. Yeah.
Okay. So like when when there's like a certain percentage of truth in it, people,
Yeah.
it sticks to people's minds lah.
Correct,
Basically,
yeah.
Even whereas those which are fabricated
Yeah.
from like non-truths,
Yeah.
then they don't tend to be as memorable lah.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And I remember you telling me once that, exactly as you mentioned just now, that it really is a lot of strategic thinking when it comes to planning shows,
Yeah.
just gauging how your audience is reacting, and maybe even changing your style on the spot if you really have to.
Yeah.
And also coming up with new jokes takes a lot of thinking and planning. Maybe tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So I'll share about the joke writing process because a lot of people out there, they think that, oh, you're going up on stage to tell a funny story. Well, from a generic standpoint, yeah. But if you look at the writing process, it's really long. So we start off with ideation first. So how I do it is when I think of a great idea, I'll just jot it down on my notepad on my phone, right? And then when I have a free time, I'll go and expand on it. Now, how do I define a great idea? Something that wows me, something that has emotion, or something that has a strong reason behind it, a strong objective, or it brings benefit, or anything strong, or anything I can expand on. Or if it's a particular topic or angle that everyone knows, but they are not talking about it. So these are all like the list of things that will capture my attention. So I'll write it down first. And then when I'm free, I'll go and write a joke about it. And that's where I see, okay, how can I expand it? First one is I'll ask, why am I saying this on stage? So I think this is a general rule of thumb before we start anything. It's always the why first. Like even in career, like why am I doing this? So in every joke, it's the same. Like why am I telling this joke? And then from there, I'll just write down. And then that's when all the comedy structures will come in. We have different kinds of comedy structure, like comparisons. So we'll say like, I'm from Penang, and then, now I'm in KL. So that's really a structure. Comparison of Penang and KL is a very standard structure. There's another structure like rule of three, like bam, bam, bam. Like, kids nowadays, they got the 3 E's, they're really entertaining, they're very expressive, and they're expensive. So it's like the 3 E's. The third one is always like the punchline or the punch word. Yeah. Many others like reversals, change of positions and all that. So these are all the structures. And then we perform it at an open mic. That's like our R&D, our testing facility. We'll go and test. And then once we have performed, we'll go back. We will actually do like a review. Hey, why did the audience laugh this way and all that? And then we'll get feedback from the comedians to see if we can improve it. And then we'll rewrite it, then perform. So we keep going through the cycle until once it's really posh, once it's really like
polished and like tested.
Exactly. Yeah. I would say like it works most of the time or all the time. And that's when we bring it to the bigger shows or corporate shows or like a special show. Yeah.
Okay. Speaking about special shows. So December 1st, 2023.
Yeah.
That's the date we're all waiting for.
Yeah.
So tell us, how did this Netflix thing come about?
So it all started off with maybe I rewind back to end of 2019 because I was supposed to do my 1 hour special in 2020.
Okay.
So 2019 I was already all prepared, and then we all know the lockdown happened, pandemic happened, and that's when I had to delay. So that time I was a bit upset because I really prepared and all that. Good thing is I got all my my deposits for the venue. It was supposed to have at PJ Life Arts in Jaya 1. Right, then they returned me. So I was very upset and then had multiple months of zero income. And then after that, I said, should I do it in 2021? This was a big question. You could do events in 2021, but everyone had to wear a mask. And it just didn't feel nice. So I said 2022 it is. And if I do my show in 2021 or 2022, I couldn't do the material in 2020 because I needed to say something about the pandemic.
Yes.
It'll be a bit weird to just do like 2019 material. So 2020, that's when my first 1 hour special happened. So I did it at PJ Pack in One Uttama. So, and I also recorded it, and I told the production team that, record based on the Netflix requirements. So they only accept like certain cameras, certain mics, and all that. Yeah. And then I told the production team, you just quote me, I'll pay you accordingly, because later on I'm going to go around pitching to these streaming services. So recorded it, sold 1,000 tickets, and despite selling 1,000 tickets, I actually made a loss. Yeah, because the production is really expensive. Yeah, but I really took this into account because I told myself this is an investment and not a what do you call it? It's not a money making show and all that. So I'm sharing the stats to all the listeners. Is on the outside it looks glamorous lah. When you take a picture of 1,000 people, like wow, you filled up a big theater, 1,000 people. But when you look at the numbers, it's pretty scary. Now, of course, if I didn't get the production team, I would have made a lot of money. Because shooting based on Netflix requirement costs quite a lot. So I had the recording with me. A few months later, I had to go through multiple rounds with the production team and to make sure that everything is okay. And that's when I tried to reach out on Netflix, and it was really tough, because I didn't know which way, and I can't disclose a lot because I signed an NDA with them. But I had to go through so many routes and different sources here and there. Google, they don't have a standard application form. So they were my first choice before reaching out to the rest like Prime or Disney or HBO and all that. And then thankfully something happened and I got a reply. And after I sent my proposal, and then I got an offer. And then, then things took off from there. And I was really happy because if you just Google what's going on in the streaming services, it's the competition is really tough, especially in America. You got Netflix, got Hulu, Peacock, HBO, Disney, Comedy Central. We are being bombarded with so much of content.
Yeah.
And there's a strike going on in America on actors, producers, directors, and all that because of AI. AI are taking over their jobs. Some companies are using AI and they're taking the actors' data or the producers or writers' data to feed in. So because of the strike, it all adds up to the budgeting.
Okay.
So budgets have been cut worldwide for comedy stuff. So when I got it, I was pretty happy. And
just pretty happy.
Yeah.
Not
very
elated.
very happy. But I'm the kind of guy where I don't want to overly celebrate because I've seen this. I've seen a lot of these patterns in the entertainment world where you celebrate too much and then career goes all the way down.
Deep, right? Okay.
So I don't want to mention who, but Britney Spears. Okay, but moving. We have seen quite a lot lah. So it is a very dangerous world out there. So I just want to keep my cool. Yeah. And I don't know. I did some research. I don't know. I think I may be the first Penangite to have a Netflix comedy special.
Oh my gosh, amazing! I think you probably are.
Yeah, because I just checked. Ronnie Cheng is JB. Harith Iskandar, Kavin, they are KL. No, Harith may be Johor, but definitely not Penang. Jason is also not Penang. So
you're
I think
definitely the first. Oh my gosh, super proud fellow Penangite. Oh my gosh, and so what are your plans after this then?
Plans after this will be to write a new 1 hour material. So my next 1 hour special will be in 2025.
Okay.
Yeah, and also for next year, I'm trying to get into the Melbourne International Comedy Festival. Still trying. Yeah, if not missed, then I will try to apply for 2025 because Melbourne International Comedy Festival is one of the biggest festivals in the world. So it is a very prestigious thing to get into it.
Yeah. I remember you telling me a few years ago that Melbourne would be the dream show.
Definitely. Yeah. And I also love the city very good coffee and all that.
I know, amazing coffee. Yeah, cannot compare my 3-in-1 egg chong which I'm serving you right now.
The audience have to visualize.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Gajen, for being here. Do you want to leave us with a joke?
I'll leave you all with maybe with the life advice too, because I get this question a lot. I'm very sure with this being Penang Institute, a lot of people, they will think from a corporate or a career standpoint is, I think you got to enjoy what you do. This may sound like a very generic thing, but I think a lot of people, they're doing something that they don't like. So ask yourself, what do you enjoy doing, and then work towards it. Because if you enjoy what you do, there's no retirement.
So true. Yeah, that is so profound. Gajen, thank you so much for speaking with me today. I've been speaking to Gajen Nad, stand-up comedian, MC, trainer, motivational speaker, content creator, and now a Netflix star. This is Spill the Tea, a podcast by Penang Institute.